Blessings, shalom, greetings to you all. Welcome to this broadcast. Thank you so much for tuning in today. And as always, it is a pleasure. It is with much joy that I join you here on this platform. Would you be kind enough to let me know whether you can see and you can also hear clearly? Facebook has released my page, so I'm no longer restricted. Hence, more of you should receive notifications now, or the notification that I am live in studio here on Facebook. So let me know please whether you can see and you can hear clearly so that we can proceed. I am certainly grateful for the opportunity to sit with you, to share with you that which Yahweh commands me to. Greetings to all of you saints. Much love and appreciation to all of you. I hope that you hear and that you can hear and also see clearly. Welcome. Since the restriction has been lifted, you should be seeing my notifications higher in your news feed now that I'm live, for example, and the things that I post. So we should be back to normal until Facebook does it again. Welcome to all of you. I bid you all shalom. Thank you so much for joining. Shalom speaks to that peace that Yahweh gives you. The peace that affirms within your heart that it is always well. It doesn't matter what you're facing. It is well. Shalom, shalom and blessings. It is always well. It matters not what you are going through today. The confidence given to you is what we call Yahweh's shalom. It is well. Can you hear clearly? And can you see clearly? If you have the clear for both, please let the others know that we're here. Invite them. Mama Ward, shalom, love you so much. So please share this with the others, let them know that we're here and that we have our moment of fellowship now. What an amazing time it is to be alive. We're in Yochanan chapter 9. Yochanan chapter 9. From verse number 1. A very, very familiar text. Brother Chris and Sister Corrine, much love to you all. Blessings and shalom. A very familiar text, and because it's so familiar, I always say the preachers have to be careful when you're in the truth, because that which is very familiar and would have been preached so often normally has many hidden truths in it, because Yahweh has blinded many because of their disobedience. Actually, he said because they did not receive the truth, he has blinded them. And we may be engaging in that discussion today. But it's good to see you all. Shalom, shalom and blessings. Hallelujah. The text from which we are going to speak, or that we're going to study today, is extremely familiar. But that text must be seen in the light of truth that it bears. Shalom to all of you. I'm glad that you're joining. Shalom. It must be seen in the realm of truth that it should. That's the Gospel according to Yochanan chapter 9. That section of Yochanan's account. Yochanan wrote about a very, very, very interesting event that occurred after Hamashiach, Yeshua, would have dealt with his own people, and they were contending with him. There was major contention, and I say that as always to remind you all that I don't know where people got this notion from. Well, actually, no. Pastor, it was good to see you, son. I actually know where they got a notion from, that you're not supposed to be arguing aggressively with people lest you're not deemed to be Christian. Oh my goodness, my son said I'm not showing live for some reason. There goes Facebook again. Thank you, Pastor Woods. So the notion is that if you engage in reference to righteousness, if you engage in arguments and you're passionate about something, you're not seen as Christian. Because in the deceived circle, they would say to you, I'm talking about those who deceive to follow the name Jesus. They say that Jesus wouldn't do that. When it is so blinding, to say the least, that in their King James Version and in NIV and others, the name Jesus is there attached with someone who was arguing with people. But it tells you exactly what happens in reference to persons who are blinded. They cannot see truth in the spiritual context. They may be aware of it, but they cannot see it in the spiritual sense. Very familiar text. As Yeshua, that's the Gospel according to Yochanan chapter 9 verse 1. As Yeshua passed along, he saw a man blind from birth. And you know this text so well. Apostle Thomas, shalom and good to see you. What joy it was to share with you today and to hear that word, that message, as a matter of fact. As Yeshua walked or passed along, he saw a man blind from birth. The man was in the womb of his mother. The man was conceived. He wasn't born a man. This baby was conceived. This baby was conceived. Cell division, as they would say in biology, Apostle Thomas being the scientist. Cell division occurred. The fetus developed. And all of this occurred. Eyes, which would be organs, sense organs, including the eyes, were formed. But Yahweh knew beforehand, before conception, that this individual, this child, this particular baby was going to be born and be unable to see the face of his parents. He was going to be born and he would not see anything. I am saying to you at the onset of this discussion, Sister Dion, good to see you and blessings, my sister. At the onset of this message, that as common as it sounds to you now who are in the truth, you must, in this discussion here, how the working of Yahweh's power is in those who blind. Not this young man here. Those who blind to truth. Can you imagine that there are those who would look upon the general, their space in general, people around them, their community, and say that God would not do certain things. God would not make a baby be born a certain way. Because their viewpoint is that whatever this God in their mind does, it has to fit into human perspective of perfection. Their viewpoint is that this powerful, loving, mighty God, in their mind, would never be inclined to do certain things to humanity. Once that forms your manner of thinking, you are deceived. Because unbeknownst to you, and probably with the most genuine intentions, you are saying within your reasoning that the God whom you call Almighty and who you say happens to be powerful, glorious, and amazing must not function beyond the scope or the reach of what you perceive him to be. Let me give you a chance to settle down here. You see, you must be able to notice what the deception is. The deception in that is that you have got the power to formulate the scope of work or the portfolio or the job description of this God that you say is all powerful. And the argument from their minds is that they have the right, these people, to confine that God into a particular way of behaving, and he cannot go beyond that. Hence the statement is that God would never do this. God would make a child be born blind. Sister Serena, blessings and shalom to you. The danger in that is that you should never, as an individual, even those of you in Yeshua now I'm talking to you, you should never ever perceive that the actions and the working of Yahweh, your God. My brother Sion, good to see you. The actions and workings of Yahweh, your God, are confined to what you think this God is capable of doing. The rationale is that whatever is considered good to humanity or good to us, whatever is considered to be good to us is what God must do for us and to us. This God that is formed in the minds of people, which is where the problem is, this God has no right going beyond what people perceive is godly. Do you understand? Pastor Melders was told on Facebook, say I'm no longer restricted, but that's how it goes. I guess you'll have to. Most of you should now unfollow me and then follow again, and you should be receiving notifications. Hopefully that works. You can unfollow, follow. There should be something in the broadcast saying that you could receive notifications. Select that, and it may work again. Who knows? But this God about whom people speak, this mighty being, the creator of all things, the great I am, the powerful one, is reduced to what human beings determine to be his behavior that is right or wrong. So if ever you say, or you found yourself saying, that God, with your mind being on the great I am, God will not do this, and you do not know whether it is Yahweh is doing it, you are in this, and that's why I said this matter about this young man being born, this baby being born blind, is so important and so popular that you shouldn't miss what I'm about to say to you. What you're saying is that without your knowing, you are the judge of Yahweh. What you are actually saying and doing, saint, if you are one, the minute you say what Yahweh could, what Yahweh would not do, he wouldn't let anybody be born blind. He would not allow my son to die or my daughters to die. Yahweh wouldn't do that. The moment you say that, you have inadvertently positioned yourself to be the judge of Yahweh. because you were saying from your lips or your thoughts that this being who's so great cannot function beyond what you say. And in anger, many people would say, especially when they're being rebuked and they're being corrected for their wrong in the church, they will always say, God didn't tell you that. And those you know the name now would say, Yahweh never told you that. Yahweh didn't say that. Yahweh doesn't do that, because it doesn't fit what makes you comfortable and okay. I'm telling you, one stretch beyond that now is where you are inadvertently judging Yahweh to say that he cannot do what you don't accept, or what is not within the realm of your perception to be his work. Let's go to the text again. The young man, as Yeshua was passing along, he saw a young man blind from the day he was born. He was blind from birth. Saints, if someone is blind from birth, it means that that person has never seen anything. He came forth, shalom sister Veronica and others, he came forth into a world and couldn't see anything. Can you imagine that? Verse 2 states, and you know it very well, his disciples asked Yeshua, asked him, Rabbi or teacher, who sinned? Listen to the very first question, who sinned? Because this blindness, this man who is going to be blind from birth, has to have something that accounts for his blindness. There has to be a reason, a cause for him to be blind. And the reason is, they said, is it the man or his parents? Somebody would have sinned to cause him to be born blind. Now, how could he sin before he's born? Because they asked the question. He was born blind, they knew it. And they said, now, did he sin? Which would have led to him being born blind. Now, you cannot sin before you're born. But they wanted to know clearly that in keeping with their reasoning here, this man could not be born blind unless there was some sin, there was some wrong done in his generation. And then they took it further to say he had to do it before he was born too. Who sinned? In order for this man to be born blind. They were convinced that being born in this state could not be, that's the Apostle Thomas, as about to go there, could not be the result of righteousness. It had to be a curse. And the church today will call it a generational curse. Somebody in the family had to do something. And you had to now reap the reward of that behavior, or the penalty for it. You have to be suffering in this way because there has to be something in your generation. They say a bloodline. Something has to be wrong along in the chain of your lineage for you to be experiencing what you've experienced. It cannot be that there is innocence attached to your inconvenience. And how many of you who are hearing me today are not searching yourselves even after this broadcast, or before it was done, or even while it's being done, to find within you where you went wrong to suffer the way you are now? How many of you are not saying within yourself that there is no way that I can suffer like this and go through so many things without there being something in my life that accounts for it? Because saints, sadly, and today I'll continue to do that for as long as I can, saints do not understand the power of inconvenience when it is divinely orchestrated. Saints don't get the power of inconvenience when it is divinely orchestrated. When Yahweh orchestrates your inconvenience, there is significant glory in it. And some of you are yet to understand that. The life of a saint is not about convenience. It's about glory. Always being given to Yahweh through whatever you're going. We'll talk about that today. And so the question is asked, which one of them did the wrong? Did his parents do wrong? And so he's now having to carry this burden? Or is it his own actions before he was born? No, you can't sin before you're born. But they asked the question. Yeshua responded, watch, all you know by now if you're in church for 2 weeks. He said, verse 3, Yeshua answered, his blindness is due neither to his sin nor to that of his parents. Glory. His blindness is not a result of his sin or that of his parents. It's clear. It happens so that Yahweh's power might be seen at work in him. The blindness occurred so that Yahweh's power might be seen at work in him. His inconvenience, listen to me, let me preach this today. This man had to be led. Can you imagine that you are being led at the mercy of others for Yahweh to, at the end of this road, be glorified? You are being taken care of by others so that Yahweh in the end can be glorified. You are being inconvenienced from seeing the beauty of nature so that Yahweh can be glorified. And you must understand that even in this situation, the baby, the boy, the teenager, the young adult, the adult never knew on even one day or for 1 second why he was blind. Now you see, it's one thing for Yahweh to inform you of the cause of your inconvenience. And that's what, now buckle up here, that's what most of you saints seek word or prophecy from. When you search through your phone, you scroll through your devices every morning. If you don't hear from me for a week, which you wouldn't do, I always say that. I'm not going to preach you every day. There's nothing in me that gives me the instruction from Yahweh to talk to you every day. So don't expect me to have any word a day for you. I'm not a multivitamin preacher. But some of you, when you're not hearing from me every day, you run to your phone to find somebody who's saying something, because you want to find within these voices a prophecy that gives you some form in your mind, some form of direction or clarity about something. And the truth is that most people, including those who call saints, want a word because they're not convinced that their inconvenience can be divine in nature. Many people who seek prophecy seek it for victory in some situation, not for the voice of Yahweh to be known in that situation. I say it again, most people who seek prophecy seek it for victory in a situation, not to know the voice of Yahweh in that situation. You don't want to hear what he has to say. What you want is to hear that you have victory in whatever you're dealing with. So if you're inconvenienced, you just want a word that says you get out of it. You are not seeking prophecy. You're seeking comfort. And you're seeking reassurance, not revelation. You don't want truth. What you want is for someone to say something to you that makes you know that the end of your issue, the end of this situation is not going to be for the inconvenience. I want to bring to the church what may be an unfamiliar doctrine, but it's a doctrine that's factual or truthful, I should say. Do not ever listen to any nonsense that says that Yahweh has to inform you of anything that you're going through. You can live and die. And the glory, about which you see the topic here, the glory of Yahweh doesn't owe humans explanations. I want you to get that clear, please. The glory that Yahweh possesses meaning majesty, honor, weight, power. The glory of Yahweh does not owe humanity explanations. Y'all need to cut this foolishness out and stop chasing after these deliverance nonsense that people talk about in the deliverance services, as though everything that you go through has a heavenly explanation. Heaven doesn't owe you an explanation. Yahweh gives you something called trust or faith. And once he says to every man is given a measure of faith. Once you receive that measure of faith or trust, you don't need explanations. Get mad now. You be mad all you want. As long as Yahweh has given you a saint, faith, which is trust, that's what it means, you do not function by explanations. You function by confidence in that whatever happens to me is happening because there is divinity involved. If you cannot see the divine in your inconvenience, then you begin to seek a sound, a word, a message, a teaching, a clip, a snippet of somebody saying something that gives you hope. Heaven does not owe you an explanation. Those who are watching live outside on the television, turn it down please, I can hear you in here. Yahweh does not owe you an explanation. But Apostle, what if my newborn baby dies and I'm a saint? I didn't do anything wrong. Should I not call you to find out why I'm going through that? What am I supposed to tell you? What am I supposed to tell you? Apart from the fact or the truth that you were given the measure of trust, which equips you to deal with anything or to endure anything. How can you love Yahweh but you cannot endure all things? When love endures all things, how can you love Yahweh but you cannot endure everything he puts you through? How can you love him? I ask again. When love endures everything, according to what Shul wrote to the Corinthian saints, how can you love him but you cannot endure everything he puts you through? The man was being led. We're in Yochanan chapter 9 verse 1, 2 and 3. The man was being led. He was born blind. He was being led around the place. He had to learn to function. He had to learn to function, listen to me, in blindness. He had to learn how to not see anything and not know why he's blind. And that became his norm. That's called his normal. Can you imagine that is your normal? When divinity said before you were born, you were blind. You wouldn't see until my son shows up. And he doesn't know that. And he's living all of his life being blind. In this case, blinded for Yahweh's glory. What is the result of your inconvenience? What have you chased after once inconvenience hit you? especially economic inconvenience. That when people have a money problem, that's when they search for the most messages that you can find, because they want a way out of it. Yeshua said that this blindness that this young man was enduring was for the power or the might of Yahweh to be seen or demonstrated through him. But the might of Yahweh could not be or would not be demonstrated through him upon his request. Oh, I want you all to hear me today. The might of Yahweh was not demonstrated when his mother prayed, or his father prayed, or even he prayed. There is no record in scripture that says that this young man went to the temple daily seeking a miracle. There's no record that says his parents went to beseech Messiah to heal their son. No such thing. I want to show you that in this text that you've heard preached so many times, there's something you need to pay attention to. And that is the fact that once Yahweh in this clearly stated situation would have put him in that position, then it means he was equipped before he was born to never request sight. Oh my God. He was equipped before birth to never request his sight being restored, because he never had sight. When Yahweh has positioned you in something for his glory, you don't have a desire, rarely ever, to pray your way out of it. You are normally at shalom in it. And that's when people look at you and say, now, what is wrong with you? How can you not be acting the way everybody else is? How could you be suffering or enduring a divorce, or your husband has left you, or your wife has walked away, or your daughter is behaving crazy? How could you be so at ease in this situation? Because before I was born, Yahweh positioned me to have this experience. Therefore, when I'm in it, I already have shalom. How many of you can testify? How many of you can tell the truth that you were encouraged by others to pray for something that you had no intention to pray about? Come on, talk to me here. Toya, don't be dragged into this. The boy was born blind and then he saw. No. Let's go into depth in this matter here. How many of you were encouraged by saints to pray about something that you had no intention of praying about? Tell the truth. Tell the truth. They're coming to tell you you have to pray. See, bless you, Sister Diana. Your husband has a problem with you, pray. Your wife has a problem, you need to pray. You're sick, we need to pray. Come on. And some pastors intrude. Listen to me. Listen to the statement carefully here. Some pastors, apostles, preachers in general, listen to this statement carefully. They intrude in your faith. Hear that carefully. They intrude into your faith. They intrude on it because you were at peace and you were at trust, and they came and intruded and said, you have to pray about this. Or they say, we have to pray. Your husband is giving you problems? Come on, says, we brought the prayer warriors from the church. We brought the intercessors to your house. You didn't ask them to come. They showed up at your house to intrude on your faith. Because your faith said, I don't need to pray about this. Your faith says that I don't need to pray about this. I am at shalom. I understand that by trust I can endure anything. And they say, no, sis, we have to pray. We have to pray. They intruded. That's the Apostle Thomas, and they create doubt. They create questioning. They create in their discussions, it could be that you did wrong, and then they have the nerve to pray. They have the nerve to pray that, God, please forgive my sister. For what? Please forgive my brother. You know that we all have sinned and come short. Really? Saints, protect, earnestly contend for the faith, the trust that's been given to you. Don't allow persons to intrude on it. They're not supposed to come and step into that faith. Like your friends, exactly, who said, man, you had to sin. Your friends came to comfort him after all of his children died. He lost his cattle, he lost so many things. And they said, okay, then you had to sin. You had to do wrong. We're here to comfort you, but we're here to accuse you at the same time. This young man in Yochanan 9's account in that section, never requested prayer. Never requested prayer. Because he didn't need it. I want to submit to you that this young man, because of Yahweh's plan, didn't need to pray to see a miracle. He didn't need to fast to see a miracle. He didn't need to seek a man of God to see a miracle. In the south you see a man of God. He didn't need to see that. He didn't need to do any of those things. All he did was to be normal while blind. He got through life without having to seek prayer. I'm here to show you that Yahweh has equipped you to endure whatever it is you have to endure. He has given to you whatever you had to endure. Whatever you need to endure, you have it already. Brother Brian, shalom, I know that you're here. Blessings, my brother. Yahweh has equipped you with everything that you need to take you straight through this situation that he knows in the end what he'll be glorified for. But the trouble in this modern faithless generation is that you don't accept or understand somehow that divinity, when it collides or comes into contact with humanity, sometimes, more often than not, there is inconvenience. There is pain. How can you tell me that when your husband walked away, left you, how can you tell me that you needed the church to pray? If Yahweh orchestrated that event, watch this. And I could talk about Pastor Mel because she's my sister. Losing a house. How could you tell me that in that inconvenience of having to rent an apartment, that Yahweh had one that is 2 or 3 times more, maybe 4 times more in reference to space? Talk to me, somebody. The inconvenience of losing a spouse and losing a house, if it's divinely orchestrated, you have the shalom to go through that, and then you can look back and realize that throughout this madness, I was mentally stable. The boast is not that you were mentally stable. Hear me carefully. You are mentally stabilized by trust. You didn't choose stability. You were chosen to be stable. You must understand the power of divinely planned inconvenience. When Yahweh divinely orchestrates your inconvenience, you have got a stability that humanity cannot relate to. He gives you shalom that goes beyond understanding. When your inconvenience is divinely planned, you could relax, because you know that after this is over, glory. After this is over, Yahweh shall be glorified. I want to submit to you, saints, It is not that you would not suffer inconvenience. Because some of you waiting to hear that in the message, that after it's over, I'll no longer be inconvenienced. No, that's not the point. The point is that after this is over, Yahweh shall be glorified. That is the purpose of your inconvenience. She says, I'm preaching to her. Bless you, my sister. When it is over, Yahweh shall be glorified. If you preaching thinking today that it come from my mouth to say, when it's over, you'll get double, you miss the whole point. Because you right back into the trap of thinking that you have to get something in order for there to be glory. No! The glory is that Yahweh is honored. Yahweh is glorified. Yahweh is praised. Yahweh is exalted. Hello, somebody. The young man was blind. What this? Divinely so. And so as he's facing this blindness, as he's going through this blindness, Yeshua shows up. And the young man never said a word to Yeshua HaMashiach. The disciples of Yeshua said, who sinned? He or his mother? Who or his father? Which one of them did wrong? Because somebody had to sin for him to be this way. And Yeshua's response is, nobody sinned. Nobody sinned. This is for Yahweh to be glorified. The scripture records that Messiah spit on the ground, made the salve, put it on his eyes, and said, go wash in the pool of Shiloach, or which means sent. Go wash in that pool. And the young man came away seeing. The reason why sight was given to him as the glorifying factor is because he was born blind by the divinely orchestrated plan of Yahweh. And so if his blindness is what was going to give Yahweh the glory, then in the miracle of his sight being restored, being given, actually it wasn't restored, he never saw. The miracle of him being given sight is what would have glorified Yahweh, as you see later on, in a particular case. Stay with me. I hope you're still here. This young man, most of you believe, that once he got his sight back, that's Yahweh being glorified. I told you all this text is too familiar. Too familiar. And tell me the truth, please. Raise your hand. Tell the truth, please. How many of you have heard the preachers all your life say to you that once he got his sight back, Yahweh is glorified? Tell the truth. Is that not what you're told or was preached to you? That once his sight is restored, and the church screams, Yahweh is glorified. Tell the truth. Zero, good to see you, Brother David. Shalom and blessings to you. Tell the truth. Is that not what you were taught? Probably all your life. And you still think now. He's born blind. Yeshua shows up, spits in the ground, tell him go wash his eyes. Put him, make the mud salve, say wash your eyes. He washes his eyes and he sees. And yes! My question to you is how? I wonder if Regina got notification. My baby is not with me today. Somebody please ensure that Regina is here as well. How? Who said that once he went and washed his eye, he came back seeing? That's how Yahweh got glory. Let me present to you with scriptural truth. Let's go through the text and I'll show you something here. He encountered his neighbors. I want to show you the text. Verse 8. His neighbors and those who had previously seen him begging said, "Isn't this the man who used to sit and beg?" Listen to what they said. "Isn't this the person who used to sit and beg?" Some said, "Yes, he is the one." While others said, "No, but he looks like him though." However, he himself said, "I am the one." Hear me, saints? Oh, okay, baby. When he said, "I am the one," Yahweh was not glorified. You better buckle up today. When he said, now he's seeing here, he could see who asked the question. Even when he saw who asked and responded, "Yes, I'm the person," Yahweh was not glorified. Yahweh was not glorified when he said, "I'm the person." Watch this. He was verified. The man. He was identified. Yahweh was not glorified. The person who couldn't see before and is now seeing is verifying and identifying himself as, "I am the person." That is not giving glory to Yahweh. If you say, "Who is Nigel?" and say, "I'm Nigel London," that's glorifying Yahweh. No. I have identified myself as the person who couldn't see, but I could see now. I am telling you all that for most of your life, even as preachers, some of us would have said it, because it's a nice message to preach. Once he began to see, Yahweh is glorified and the whole church shouts. But you missed the whole point. Glory to Yahweh is not in his identifying himself. Yahweh didn't make this man be born blind, live all of his life blind, to just stand and say, "I'm the person," and then that's the glory right here. That is not the glory factor. So what this? He said, "I'm the person." They said, "How were your eyes opened?" They asked him, "How were your eyes opened?" He answered, "The man called Yeshua made mud and put it on my eyes and told me, go to Shiloach and wash. Go to Shiloach and wash." And washed. So I went, and as soon as I washed, I could see. Glory. What's this? They said to him, "Where is he?" The man said, "I don't know." They took him to the Pharisees now. Now the day on which Yeshua had made the mud was Shabbat. So you have a legal issue here to deal with. Yeshua healed the man on Shabbat, which is a rest day. You're not supposed to do any work on this day. And Yeshua made mud, which is work, put it on his eyes, and say, "Go wash," which is work, in their view. So the Pharisees want to now have to dissect the whole law to see where can we trap the Messiah into saying that he's wrong for doing something because he broke Shabbat. I hope some of y'all could begin to peep through the window, peek and see where Yahweh is going to be glorified. He said Yeshua did that. The Pharisees asked him, how had he been able to see? And he told them, "He put mud in my eyes, I washed and now I can see." Verse 16 of that, some of the Pharisees said, "This man is not from God. He's not from Yahweh because he doesn't keep Shabbat." But others said, "How could a man who's a sinner do miracles like these?" And there was a split among them. Yahweh is being glorified, because here you see the name of Yahweh comes into the equation now. Here you see Yahweh is being brought into discussion here to say that how could this man be working miracles on Shabbat. And others said, hold on, this is a miracle being wrought here. They said he doesn't keep Shabbat, and he said, but this is power. This has to be the work of Yahweh. Hear me, saints. The man who couldn't see and is now seeing wasn't talking here. Yahweh, who gave law through Moshe, and the Pharisees, who were polices of the law, lawyers of the law, they knew the law. They began to have discussion about the law in reference to this man being healed. So they spoke to the blind man, since you're the one whose eyes are opened, what do you say about him? The man replied, he is a prophet. Hallelujah. He is a prophet. Do you notice that this goes beyond what the preachers have taught us and what we've taught probably all of our lives? This goes beyond he saw, and Yahweh is glorified. Let me share this with you. If he had been asked, who healed you? And he lied, Yahweh would not have been glorified. Let's pause for a second and have this discussion. If he was asked, who healed you? How do you see? And he said, I really don't know. If he denied, or he said, some man did it, I don't know the person, and he knew Yeshua by his name, he was not glorifying Yahweh. Do you get the point yet? The glory being given to Yahweh is not in is in him being able to see. It's in him being able to speak. Hooray. If I were in church, I'd tell you, touch your neighbor and say neighbor, as the old Baptist preacher like tell you all. Touch your neighbor, say neighbor. What do you say after? That's where y'all get into trouble. As Apostle Thomas was preaching this morning, that's the problem with most of y'all. You are afraid to say what you need to say. You don't have the boldness. You see a whole lot of things, but you can't say what you saw. The miracle didn't come from him seeing. It came from what he said. What do you say? So, my cousin Thunderclaps Woodley, boy, listen here. What did he see? And what did you say? You have seen that the Messiah can only be called Yeshua because there's no other reasoning that can make you say, okay, son, oh, this is the thunderclaps. You listen to the earpods. If you're saying that you know that the Messiah's name is Yeshua, and you saw that everything that points to the reasoning has to be his name is Yeshua, how could you say Jesus afterwards? Because the glory is in what you say. He was able to see, but if he had said something different, there was no glory being given to Yahweh. And Yeshua said that this man was born this way so that the power of Yahweh could be seen through him. The power of him seeing was not the glory factor here. Because if he saw and he said nothing, he's in trouble. Which tells me then that when Yahweh has equipped you to go through something like this, you don't have a speech problem. You don't have an issue saying what it is that has to be said. Hear me. Even in the midst of contention, you have confidence. You have boldness. Even when you see persons being aggressive towards the one who healed you, you have confidence to speak truth. Even when you know they're going to put you out of the church because you say Yeshua HaMashiach is the name of the Messiah, you don't have a problem being put out of the church. Even if they cut your pay and they say you can never come back and preach in here tomorrow, you don't care if they put you out because you know that what you say is what gives Yahweh glory. Shalom, Apostle Josh. Shalom to you, my brother. What is coming from your lips, saints? What is on your mouth? What is in your lips when you go through what you go through? Some of you have been through so many things, and you're afraid to say Yahweh even at your workplace. You're scared to proclaim him for who he is, because you know that they'll do you something and they'll say that you wanted them Yeshua people and you want following Nigel London and now all the rest of it. So you're scared, you're afraid to say what you've been through and to say what you stand for. Hence you have to get dressed and go to the Christmas party, lest they say that you're antisocial and you're not a team player. And because you don't want to be labeled as one who's not a team player, you must get dressed and go to an environment that you know you don't subscribe to. But what you say is what gives Yahweh glory, which is I don't participate in that. Why? It's not in keeping with my faith. Case closed. You have been able to. You would have been able to, in that instant, proclaim what you believe in. The Yahweh was taken to the Pharisees, and he was not afraid to repeat what he experienced. His parents were afraid of being kicked out of the temple. His parents were scared. His parents were afraid of being kicked out of the temple. Let me read it for you. The Judeans, those of you who, however, were unwilling to believe, that's verse 18 of Yochanan 9, unwilling to believe that he had formerly been blind, but now could see, until they had summoned the man's parents. What? They asked him, is this your son, who was born blind? How is it that he can now see? His parents answered, we know that this is our son who was born blind. But how is it that he can see now? We don't know. Listen to this. Nor do we know who opened his eyes. Hear his parents' speech here. Ask him. He's old enough to speak for himself. The parents said this, verse 23, because they were afraid of the Yehudim, those from Judea. They were afraid, for the Yehudians had already agreed that anyone who acknowledged Yeshua as the Messiah would be banned from the synagogue. That is why his parents said he's old. Ask him. Do you get that? The young man was blind for Yahweh to be glorified. His parents took care of him. But his parents were not in any way under divine inconvenience, in reference to them being made blind and have something to say. Sister Misha, Pastor, not this saint. I'm very vocal. Oh, you are in what I believe in, because Yahweh has been there for me. Hallelujah. Yes, my sister. Watch this carefully here. The parents said, ask him. He could talk for himself. Because they were afraid. The Yehudians said, we're going to put you out of the synagogue if you only say anything about Yeshua being Lord. And so they said, ask him. Let him incriminate himself. I want you to see the difference between the person who's chosen to be. So it tells me, therefore, that you could be taken care of by people. His parents took care of him. You could be cared for by people who are not chosen to see what you see, or to say what you would have experienced, or what you allowed or permitted or empowered to say. The parents could take care of him, but they couldn't speak like him. I'm talking to you pastors, you apostles, you prophets, and you S's out there. You, y'all. You took care of many of these saints. You kept them out of the club. You kept them out of the whorehouse. You kept them out of the crack house. You kept them out of so many things. But now they can speak and you can't. They can now say Yeshua is the Messiah. And you still say, I know Jesus, Yeshua is his name, but I have to say Jesus still. You cannot. You cannot say what they can say. You protected them for years from so many things in life. But you cannot say today what they can say because you were not chosen to speak like them. You were afraid the judgment put you out of AOG. You scared the judgment to take back the building. You scared that Raphael Messiah would do something. You scared that Laura Searwood would do something, or whatever the brethren one name. You scared that Adventist president would do something to you. You were afraid. But there are saints here who came out from where you were. You scared the MOC will do something to you, so you can't talk. But Pastor Woodley is here though. Rodney is here though. Kat is there though. Virginia is here though. Lauren is here though. Melissa is here though. So you scared. You took care of them. But now, when the time has come for them to speak, and for you to speak, you say, I know the Messiah's name is Yeshua, but we have to say Jesus because we don't speak Hebrew. But you can say Mercedes though. You can say Toyota though, you don't speak Japanese. You can say Hyundai, but you don't speak South Korean. You don't speak the Korean language. Glory, hallelujah. But this young man, his parents refused to tell the truth. And that's why I said to you, Yahweh proclaimed through his son that this boy, this man, his blindness, Yahweh would get glory through him. The parents were never assigned this responsibility. So when it came back to the young man, he never once denied Hamashiach. We're going to get to the part I want to get to before we go home. Hallelujah. Or do you home? So they call him a second time. And they said to him, now say it. Swear to Yahweh that you will tell the truth. We know that this man is a sinner. So they're saying, we know Yeshua is a sinner. Just tell us that he is. Just tell us that Yeshua is a sinner, please. He answered whether he's a sinner, I don't know. And he's right, because that was not his to judge. He said, one thing I know, I was blind and now I see. So they said to him, what did he do to you to open your eyes? He said, I already told you. And you didn't listen. What do you want? Why do you want to hear it again? Maybe you want to become his disciple too? Listen to me here. Do you see where Yahweh is being glorified? Where the man's parents backed out. Your pastor backed out. Your apostle backed out. Your prophetess backed out. Your bishop backed out. Your general bishop backing out. But you are in the forefront saying, Yeshua is the Messiah. You're in the forefront saying, Yeshua is Lord. You saying that the Messiah can only be called Yeshua, for there's no other name given under heaven whereby men must be saved. You are in the forefront, while the chickens at the back hiding. The glory or the glorifying of Yahweh is seen here. Because if he had not seen, he would not have had the conversations with his community, with the Pharisees again. He would not have had these conversations now. But because he could see, he would not have even known that his parents were so weak that they'd rather lie than be put out of the synagogue. He wouldn't know that. But because he was able to see, he could now see who was who. And he could see who was scared. He could now see that he was blinded for Yahweh's glory, but they blinded by Yahweh's glory. They couldn't even see through the power. What is your pastor seeing? Is he seeing his position being threatened? What are you seeing, you? What are you seeing, young man and woman? Are you seeing that you stand to lose your position in the praise team, or as a singer or a dancer, whatever you are? What are you seeing that has you scared to tell the truth? His sight was restored to cause a war. My God, I hope you could hear that. His sight was restored to cause a war. That's what happened here. There was a big fight among them. And he was not backing down. This man was a beggar, now he's a preacher. My Lord. He was willing to say, y'all want me disciples too? Yeah, you used to give me money at the gate, but let me make this clear to y'all. I could see. And you keep asking me the same thing because maybe you want to be discipled as well. Listen to me, saints. You have to understand, when your inconvenience is divinely orchestrated, Yahweh empowers you to speak. When Yahweh is going to get glory, if Yahweh said that you are chosen for my glory, which is what he said that you the saints, the Hebrew people, you were chosen to show forth the praises of him who's called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. Listen to me. For as long as you are chosen to show forth the glory of Yahweh, you are bold. So maybe you could reconsider whether you're chosen. Or now that I'm talking this way, you would understand that you are chosen. You are emboldened to lose everything because you've gained everything when you're chosen. The young man said, do you want to be disciples? Then they railed at him. You may be his disciple, but we are of Moshe. We know that Yahweh has spoken to Moshe, but for this fellow, we don't know where he's from. Is he already behaving towards him? What a strange thing, the man answered. That you don't know where he's from, considering that you opened my eyes. This guy's a classic. This man is amazing. He said he opened my eyes. You don't know where he's from? You know Moshe. You know Moshe gave the law. You know all that, but you don't even know where he's from. Moshe didn't open anybody's eyes. They say we know that Yahweh doesn't listen to sinners. That's what they said. We know that Yahweh does not listen to sinners. But if anyone fears Yahweh and does his will, Yahweh listens to him. In all history, no one has ever heard of someone's eyes being opened of a man who's born blind. In all of history, they said we never heard of this. If this man were not from Yahweh, he couldn't do a thing. My Lord. They said, you want to try and lecture us on this matter? And the scripture records in verse 34 that they threw him out. They expelled him from the synagogue, or from the grouping. They kicked him out. They put him out. How many of you have not been excommunicated because of what you said? Yahweh is glorified in your excommunication. When you are put out from among your family members and told don't come back here, Yahweh is glorified in your excommunication. When you're told that you're no good, that you were once this good little Christian boy and now you are this heathen following this London man and following this Yahweh nonsense, as some of them told you, Yahweh is glorified then. He's glorified when you are able to suffer so many things for the name's sake of his son. He's glorified when you're able to stand with boldness and proclaim in the midst of those who despise Messiah that he is still Messiah. He is still Yeshua HaMashiach. You are able to proclaim with courage that which they know to be the truth. I present to you today the truth that the man who was born blind, that's the Apostle Thomas, was now seeing in one moment much clearer than all of those who could see Messiah Yeshua all of their lives that he was with them. In one moment and in one encounter, he could see more than those who had eyes all of their lives to see and who had sight. Praise Yahweh for your excommunication. Praise Yahweh for your being despised for his name's sake. Praise Yahweh for he has chosen you to glorify his name. And as long as that happens, his choosing of you cannot be overridden by your fear of men, because you'd fear no one. I bid you shalom. And as always, saints, I am so honored to be chosen to proclaim Yahweh's word to the likes of you. It's a blessing. It's a joy or a joyful thought to know that Yahweh has chosen the likes of you to receive his word. As always, I thank you so much for the kindness you show to my family and to me. Your giving to us is exemplary, and we are all grateful. Thank you for your kindness. Thank you for your kindness. It means so much. I thank Yahweh for your receptiveness, for him choosing you to receive the truth. And I thank him for your being able to receive the truth in totality, which includes your giving to those who preach the truth to you. I thank you as always, and I pray that you remain kind and obedient. May blessings continue to abound to you, and may you continue to glorify your Father who's in heaven by obedience and boldness. Do not be afraid. Do not be ashamed. If you are chosen to give him glory, then whatever you go through, glory shall be given. You can't stop it. Love y'all and do well. Blessings, saints. Love y'all so much.